My sister slept with my husband. At her baby shower, I gave her a gift that left everyone silent. I always believed betrayal was something that happened to other people, those sad stories you read about in magazines or overhear in hushed whispers at family gatherings. I never imagined it would happen to me. And certainly not from the two people I trusted most in the world, my husband and my sister. The truth came crashing down one rainy evening, when I picked up my husband's phone to check the time. A notification popped up, and before I could stop myself, I swiped it open. It was a message thread. My sister's name glowed on the screen. What I read next ripped my heart into shreds. I can't wait until we're free to be together without sneaking around. My husband had replied, soon. But for now, remember you're carrying our little secret. I remember staring at those words, my hands trembling, the phone slipping from my grasp. My sister was pregnant, and it wasn't just anyone's child, it was my husband's. For days, I walked around in a fog. I replayed every family dinner, every shared laugh, every time my sister leaned in a little too close to my husband. Suddenly, it all made sense. The way they avoided my gaze, the inside jokes I wasn't part of, the excuses. They had been betraying me right under my nose. But here's the thing, I didn't scream. I didn't confront them right away. I stayed quiet, and in that silence, I began to plan. Because my sister's baby shower was approaching, and the whole family would be there. If they wanted to play games in the dark, I was ready to bring their truth into the light. The day of the baby shower arrived. The living room was filled with pastel balloons, little pink and white cupcakes, and the scent of roses. Laughter filled the air as relatives mingled, sipping lemonade and snapping photos. My sister sat on a decorated chair, radiant in her maternity dress, beaming like the perfect mother-to-be. My husband stood nearby, pretending to fuss over decorations, but I could see the nervous flicker in his eyes when they met mine. When it was time for gifts, everyone gathered in a circle. One by one, she opened tiny baby clothes, plush toys, and diaper bags. Each time, the room erupted with AWWS and claps. And then, it was my turn. I handed her my gift, a neatly wrapped box with a silver ribbon. My sister smiled at me, maybe relieved that I seemed calm, maybe believing her secret was still safe. But as she tore open the wrapping and lifted the lid, her face went pale. Inside was a framed photo, one I had found on my husband's phone. It was the two of them together, in bed, smiling into the camera like they were proud of what they were doing. Tucked beside the photo was an envelope containing a paternity test I had arranged behind their backs, proving the child she carried wasn't her fiancé's but my husband's. The room fell silent. Forks dropped onto plates. Gasps filled the air. My sister's hands shook as she clutched the photo, her lips parting in shock. My husband's face drained of color, and he took a step forward as though he could undo what had just happened. This, I said, my voice calm but carrying across the room, isn't just a baby shower. It's the unveiling of betrayal. The silence was suffocating. Some family members looked away, others stared wide-eyed, frozen. My mother began to cry. My sister tried to speak, but no words came out. My husband opened his mouth, but I raised a hand. Don't bother. The truth speaks louder than your excuses. I didn't wait for their explanations. I didn't need them. I turned, grabbed my bag, and walked out the door. My heart was heavy, but for the first time in weeks, I felt powerful. The days that followed were filled with chaos. My sister's fiancé left her. My husband begged me to forgive him, showing up at my door with flowers and promises. But I had already decided, I wasn't going to waste another second of my life tied to people who had no respect for me. I filed for divorce and cut ties with my sister. It wasn't easy. The nights were long, and the betrayal haunted me like a shadow. But I started to rebuild. I threw myself into work, reconnected with friends I had neglected, and eventually, I found strength in solitude. I realized that betrayal is painful, yes, but it can also be liberating. It tears down the false walls you've been leaning on and forces you to build something stronger, something real. Months later, I stood in front of my mirror, ready for my first date in a long time. I smiled at my reflection, not because I had forgotten the pain, but because I had survived it. I had walked through the fire and come out whole. If there's one thing I learned, it's this: sometimes the people closest to you will break you in ways strangers never could. But you are not defined by their betrayal. You are defined by how you rise after the fall. And me, I chose to rise.